Hi, everybody. I'm going to give you a rundown on my life. Um, I was born in Storm Lake, Iowa, 1932, July 1st. It was a hot day, and my dad was evidently very happy to have another little baby because he and Joe went all over town telling everybody about me being born. Well, I lived in Storm Lake all my life. Um, all my up until the time I was 18. I went to St. Mary's Church, St. Mary's School, graduated in 1951. And I had various jobs making money so that I could go to a business school. But I have to tell you, I detasseled corn. I worked at Odie's. It was a restaurant. And I worked at the Root Beer Drive-In. And anyway, I made enough money. And with my graduation money, I was able to go to Omaha. And I went to a business school called Commercial Extension School of Business. And it took about 9 months. That's the time that they allotted for this. And after that, I got a job at Robert's Dairy. And I think I worked there 2 years, maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, from there, I went back to Storm Lake, and my brother Dick and Till and my mom and myself drove to Trenton, New Jersey to visit my sister Madeline because I had quit working at Robert's Dairy. Anyway, we got out there and we did some sightseeing. We went to New York and Rockefeller Center and St. Patrick's Cathedral. And Madeline's husband owned a little house at Seaside Heights, and we went there for a few days, right on the ocean. And from there, Madeline said, well, why don't you stay here since you don't have a job? And so I decided to stay, and Dick and my mom and Till went back to Iowa. So Madeline had a friend, Mary Salbago, and she worked for Electrolux. The gal that worked with her in the office was leaving, so Mary asked me if I'd like to get to work with her. Sure, I would. I needed a job. So anyway, I worked with the Electrolux. There was just one other woman in the office, and then Bucky was in the parts department, and so there were just the three of us in the office. Well, lo and behold, Mary was going to quit. So she asked me if I would be interested in taking her job. Well, she trained me to do what she did, so I think I might have been there 2 years with Electrolux. And in the meantime, I was acquainted with Ron Schuler because he was my brother Dick's friend. They hung around together. They worked at High Grade. or Keegan or whatever it was called at the time, packing plant in Storm Lake. And Ron was in the Air Force, and he sent a Christmas card to Dick, and Joe got a hold of it and suggested to me that I write to him because GIs like to hear from home. So I did. And for 2 years, Ron Schuler and I corresponded. He was in England at the time, Burtonwood Air Force Base. And so it was time for him to come back from the Air Force. And Betty Leiden, who was teaching me to sew, and her husband, Rick, volunteered, offered to go to Grand Central Station, and that's where we met Ron. And he came back with us to Trenton, and that's how we got together. He stayed for 3 or 4 days, and Betty and Rick took him to Philadelphia to get on a plane to go back to Storm Lake, and then his parents picked him up from Des Moines and brought him to Storm Lake. And in the meantime, he asked me if I was going to be coming back to Iowa, and I said, well, do you want me to? And he said, yes. So I did. And I think you've got everything else from there.
Dad was so romantic, wasn't he?
Was he
You gotta come back?
Yeah.
So, why don't we just talk about up until your wedding?
Oh.
So,
okay.
so Dad flew back to Des Moines. His mom and Dad picked him up, brought him to Storm Lake,
Yeah.
and then you had to move back from Trenton.
From Trenton, and Betty and Rick brought us, Jill and me, back to Storm Lake. And I mean, we didn't stay anywhere overnight. Betty and Rick took turns driving, and we slept in the car. They had one little boy, David, and so they stayed with us. And Storm Lake doesn't have an awful lot of industry or anything interesting, so the only thing we could do was to take Betty and Rick over to Keenan, and there was Ron, and he says, why haven't you called me?
So he's at work.
Well, and I said, if I called you, my brothers would skin me alive, because they were very much opposed to girls calling boys.
So you were waiting for him to call you, and he was waiting for you to call
him. Yeah. So anyway, then he started, hanging around with Dick again, and we saw each other, and I think it was Valentine's Day that he asked my mom and dad for my hand in marriage. And in the meantime, he asked Jill to take me down to Paxton's Jewelry, just walking around town, and if there was a ring in the window that I liked, take note of that. So we did, and I picked out the ring that I thought I would like to have if I ever got one, and that's what he bought. So I think it was, I can't remember what the occasion was that he asked if I would marry him. Okay, so we did that, and then we went to the church, and in the Catholic Church, you've got to have proof that you were baptized and received the sacrament. So we looked into the baptismal records, and he was at the top of the page and I was at the bottom of the page. And so that was one meeting with the priest. And then the second meeting was figuring out what day and time and all this and that, and then the music. We only met with the priest three times, and your dad picked out the day, a Saturday, because most people didn't work on a Saturday, and so that's how it all came about.
So June 23rd, 1956.
Yep.
Okay. You got married at St. Mary's.
St. Mary's in Storm Lake, Iowa. And we had a honeymoon at Okoboji, Lake Okoboji, this little resort. And the cabin that we had was named Weetu. And so we were there for 2 weeks. And it was 8 days before my 24th birthday. Ron had turned 24 in February 3rd. So he was about 5 months older than me. And the 4th of July we spent there. That was, it was close to Arnold's Park, this cabin. So we went there for the 4th of July and the fireworks and everything. And we spent 2 weeks there. We did some fishing and just stuff that you do when you don't go to Florida or Hawaii.
Well,
so that's my life.